So Descript, for anyone who doesn't know, allows you to store all your audio, but it also allows you to, every time you edit the words, it actively edits your kind of timeline, your actual project, and then you can bounce it or export it into Reaper or Pro Tools or whatever you prefer to use. Massive pros is that if you're making a show like ours that's heavily narrative and has lots of archive and clips and all that, it's so easy to move stuff around. And we were also not able to be together, so we could leave notes for each other. We could be checking each other's work, and it just made it so collaborative, like a Google Doc. But the cons are it isn't, it's not perfect editing software, so you're not able to smooth edits in the same way that you would if you were building a project outside of a timeline. And when we've worked on other projects, we used a Google Doc that the sound and designer then built from as just like a script from the raw material, and the clips would match the file names that we had in the project. But that is very slow and would have probably taken a lot more time.
Yeah, it definitely has its advantages in that sense. Google Docs, our method when we were using Google Docs, we found quite complicated, quite error prone and confusion prone, and Descript was really streamlined a lot for us and made a lot much more efficient, much faster. As Poppy says, there are things you need to watch out for with it, and it's not perfect, but certainly for podcasts which are quite heavy in voiceover like ours, it's quite an intuitive process, and it's very easy to use, and it really helps you write around your interview material.
And did you compose the episodes within the script, or was the idea, like say, written somewhere else, the structure of it, or how did you go about that?
It's a bit of a mixture, really, and it depends slightly on the episode. The nature of the interviews, the nature of the interviewees leads that process a bit. So there are some episodes which were really driven by a single core interviewee, and those we could really build from the beginning in Descript, because you're mainly being led by what that core interview is. So an example is our episode 6, which the kind of core interviewee there is Ramon Sosa. He was a brilliant speaker and told the story really well, and already kind of had quite a full narrative arc in there. So that was a question of taking that interview, cutting it down into the kind of main narrative beats that were already in his story, and then writing around that and pulling in other elements. For other stories, which are possibly about more historical figures, or where there isn't kind of a single narrator telling their own story, and it's much more in the round, told by lots of different people, it can be helpful, or we find anyway, to begin scribbling on bits of paper, maybe drawing out what you think the narrative arc will be, writing notes, and then kind of getting into the script and playing around with interview material.
That is interesting. And this working within the script, did it affect your overall vision for the style of the show, or was that something you had in mind before you even started? And how did you imagine the music will support this show as well? Because you are working without music in the script.
Yeah, so we definitely always have quite a lot of chats before we start making episodes about what other shows we want it to sound like. And, we're very influenced by Love and Radio, This American Life, a lot of Gimlet shows, really those kind of American narrative styles and sort of sensibilities that we kind of like to apply to our work. So with that in mind, I guess when we're building, we often think about things in a cinematic way. So we think about an opening scene, we think about protagonists, and that's already kind of there. And because we've worked together for such a long time, we kind of know that that's our taste and what we like to listen to and what we want to try and recreate. But we, I guess in terms of sound design, we always like it quite pared back, and we almost think if you're aware of the music, then maybe something's gone wrong. It should really complement what you're hearing and just kind of carry you along and transport you to a mood, without being kind of like the main thing that means you can't actually focus because you're so distracted by an amazing drum and bass beat or something. So thanks to Mike's amazing work, we hope that that's been pulled off in this one. But I would say that Descript for me has just been so amazing because you are able to experiment more, because it's very easy to shuffle stuff around and have a new edit that's duplicated, and you just say, well, we're going to put the beginning at the end and see if that works. You can color code, you can do a pickup and just paste it over and just have changed wording slightly. You can do rough cuts. Often what we like to do is actually record a version and listen and really experience it like that, because you can look at a screen too long and then you don't really know what you're doing anymore. So for me, that's hugely empowering, and you're able to be a bit more flexible than I think sometimes once you've put something on a timeline and you're working in Reaper or Pro Tools, you feel more weirdly that you don't want to move stuff because it could just screw up everything.
Yeah.
Nothing to add.
Sorry.
We've said it all.
All the things to say.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah, definitely. Programs and software like that, they are very helpful for podcast producers who wanna do both, work within that script and audio at the same time. And then as they evolve, hopefully, like you said, the editing, the cutting of actual audio gets better as well. But I want to... That was the clip from my chat with Alice Fiennes and Poppy Damon, creators of Pseudocide, the latest podcast from Casefile Presents. If you wanna have a listen, have a watch to the full interview, it is available on my channel. I'll post the links in the description below.